Hello everybody, it's going to be a little video of me working on the N scale layout. I do have a backdrop that I'm starting to install. I had it wrapped around both corners, but I didn't like that, so I cut that off. Trying to figure out what to do with this side, because I think I'm going to put a piece of paneling or something up there to cover the hole. I don't like that. And then the front, I'm going to spray paint that black, make it look nicer. As you can see, I've started doing the paper mache and the little hillside with a gorge for the train to run through. I've got the tunnel portals installed, a little bit more work to do there. And as we come around here, light fades a little, but you can see I've weathered with a blowtorch to make it look like the steam engine going through. I will weather the other two portals to match. And then I have the retaining walls, and show you a little bit how I do this. I start with a pewter gray, and I'm trying to do this one-handed, so please forgive the shakiness of the camera and everything. But I can't do a whole lot on the top because there's paper mache up there. These are super glued in, and then there is hot glue between the retaining wall and the tunnel portal. And I'm just going to start with the pewter gray, and then once that's dry, go in with some whites, some granite, some khaki, and maybe a little bit of black, just to dull it down and weather it just a bit. So like I said, this layout will be my sister's to run at the shows, and if she shows that she likes this quite a bit, enjoys it as much as I do, someday maybe she'll own this layout, be able to take it to shows herself. And get this done. This paint is by the Apple Barrel company, and it dries pretty quick. So that's one thing I like about it. That's why I use it a lot. It's because it's good for weathering. It's good for just about anything you want to do on a model railroad. And it dries super quick, in about 5 minutes, and you can put a second coat on. Really, by the time I'm done painting this, I'll be able to start a second coat. But I let it sit just a little bit. That way it dries thoroughly, or at least good enough that it covers when I start a second coat. This is a little harder to do because I have this retaining wall installed, and I have a little building here that is installed. It's harder to work around that, and I can't remove that because that was installed on the layout when I got it. I don't want to remove it and wind up breaking it. So like I said, I wanted to do this video to show you guys how I do things, show you a little update on this layout, being that it's really starting to come together. And because I know some of you guys are wondering how I do things and how I make things look the way I do. So get my head out of the way. You can see that blends in decently with the tunnel portal that's there. Once it dries, it'll be a little bit brighter of a color. But then I also have granite gray that I'll be using, a little bit of khaki, and black. Give you guys a quick sneak over here, show you the whatchamacallit, the gorge. that the train's going to be running around through. Little cutout area. Then that piece of foam back there is going to get painted to look like a retaining wall. And eventually, once everything starts drying better, that tunnel portal will get painted. This section of blue will come off, and that'll get painted black just like the front. This is only layer 1 of the paper mache. Monday or Tuesday I'm going to start layer 2 and maybe do a third layer, but this will be at the show Friday, so I'm probably not going to do too much in the way of a third layer because I want to definitely have time for it to dry thoroughly before I start taking it somewhere, and who knows, I might wind up just doing 2 layers and then being able to start painting it and make it look halfway decent before the show. I'm not sure yet what all is going to get done to it before Friday. A little bit of limited time here, so move this forward and I'll start on one of these other retaining walls while that first one's drying. Like I said, I can't do too much on the top of them because they are they've got the paper mache coming down to them to make them look a little nicer. I got a little bit of work to do there. There's a bit of foam in there that I was not able to cover with a retaining wall. I had to cut into the layout. It's well, the foam work here to get these to fit nicely, and there's not enough space for a 5th retaining wall, which ultimately was a good thing because you can see I only had 6, so I'm kind of glad or happy that I did not have room for a 5th retaining wall there, because then it might look a bit funky with 5 there and only 1 tunnel portal with a retaining wall on both sides. I know some of you might say, well, just go buy more. I could have, but I'm probably not going to be able to before the show. So anyhow, these are glued in with super glue, and then where the back meets foam is glued in with hot glue, because the super glue I use melts the foam. And so I believe this is a Homosoap board that's underneath the layout. It's on top of a hollow core door. So like I said, I can't really use too much super glue because it melts the foam. And then you have a gooey mess, and your retaining walls are not held in place. So anyhow, like I said, this is mainly how I do my weathering, my mountain stuff, is granite gray and pewter gray mix. The granite gray is just to highlight certain things, same with the khaki, and black, light browns and buffs that I use. If you're asking questions, sorry, hello, John. Not paying too much attention to the chat while I'm painting, but if you have any questions, I might be able to explain it here. Let's see. That first one looks like it's starting to dry. Let me set the camera down for a second, and I'll switch over to the granite gray and see how that looks. Personally, just looking at the granite gray when I'm pouring it, I think it's going to be too bright, too light of a color. But I'm just using it for a highlight here and there, like a dry brush type of deal. Let's see how that looks. I don't know. I'm not liking the granite gray. I'm not falling in love with it, so I'll go back to the pewter. Oh, let's see. One thing that I know that's going to get worked on this layout tomorrow is that my buddy Garrett with Kokosing Valley Central, he's going to be working on soldering every bit of track on here for connectivity reasons, because I know that some locomotives have a little bit of trouble when it comes to certain spots in the track. Other times this will run no problems, so it might be a locomotive issue, but just to be on the safe side, we'll get every piece of track soldered together. I'm not going to be expanding on this layout, so it's not like it's going to need to be cut or anything, and even if it does, that's not that hard to do. Up top where I'm painting, I found a couple of log cabins. They're going to go up there, and some cars and people, make it look like a little tourist trap where rail fans can go up there and watch the trains go around. So I'm going to have some people up there and some cars, little campers, campsites, and small stuff like that. I'm not going to go crazy when it comes to buying a whole bunch of buildings and stuff, because there's no roads on this, and I'm wanting to keep this as cheap as possible, because I just want to run things as cheap as I can, and I don't see myself going too deep into N scale, so I don't see myself expanding. So that's why I'm not going to go too crazy in buying buildings or anything. If I was looking at expanding and making the layout bigger and ultimately putting together a huge N scale layout, then yeah, I would start widening my collection. But for now, if I come up with 5 or 6 engines and 20 cars, it's about all I need. Because honestly, I'm not sure how many will fit, but I think with a Jeep, that a GP locomotive, that you might get 20 cars on here without it hitting its tail. Seen it done before when this layout was running at the Loudonville show a few years back. I think it was Dash 9 though that was pulling the train. Let's see, we got another person on here. Hello, whoever you are. I think I might use my blowtorch. Speaking of, give you a quick look. This is what I used to weather those tunnel portals. Just unlock it here. Hey, Garrett. Just a quick swipe of that dries everything up and weathers it nicely. That's how I weathered the tunnel portals, is that little blowtorch there. Works nice. Can't remember what I paid for it. Only like $1 or $2, something like that, out at Family Dollar. But that's what I'll be using to burn these a little bit, get a little bit of a older look to them. That way they don't look like they're brand new retaining walls. Anybody has any suggestions, comments, questions, feel free to let me know. I might not catch it right away, but I will be going through this video later to look at the live chat, and if I do catch your question, I might be able to... Yeah, Garrett, I'll see you tomorrow. If anybody has any questions, comments, suggestions, feel free to comment that or whatever. And I'm open to any suggestions as to weathering techniques, things I can do to improve on the layout, things I can add to it. Um, open to anything really, because my main forte is HO scale, and I'm hoping to be able to do a big layout when I get out on my own. But right now, these little modular things are all I can do, and I'm still a rookie at most of this. So if anybody has a great imagination or something and can see putting something somewhere on this layout, let me know. And if I can visualize it and everything and it looks good and I can feasibly do it, then I will. Thank you, Garrett. I'd like to see how many cars we can fit on here behind my little 060 to see what it'll pull, and if it'll pull everything to where it just barely misses itself. Um, Garrett, I don't think we're going to be able to get 6 axles to run on here. I'm not sure, because I can't remember. I think Denny had that Dash 9 CSX running on here, chasing its tail, but I can't remember. So, and I know he said 6 axles have trouble because these are tight curves, but like I said, I'm not 100% certain. So, I think what Denny used, or whoever made this, painted these tunnel portals, used was a granite gray with pewter gray mix. Yeah, Garrett, I'm planning on putting trees on here and some grass. I started the plaster, or not plaster, the paper mache today, so I can't really do anything grass-wise till tomorrow when things dry up. I gotta get a can of hairspray, and I've got some grass to start. I need to find some really fine, like super fine ballast to be able to do some ballasting around all this to give that little added detail to it. Ah, I see we have a third person watching. Hello, whoever you are that just joined. I'm doing this video to show off how I paint things, how I do my weathering, how I get my stone look, and all that. Hey, nickel plate. Um, like I said before, I'm really happy that I only got 4 of these retaining walls to fit in here, because I think it will look much nicer with just the 4. And if I can, as you can see, I actually have wall here, 4 main ones, and then 1 here. So I'm glad I only have the 4 in there, because if I didn't have a retaining wall there, I think it might look a bit odd. A 4th person. Wow. Nickel plate, I think he's asking if you join my channel. I'm not sure. I gotta get some hot glue in there. I see I didn't get any glue in between the tunnel portal and that retaining wall. I'm not sure why. But as you can see, it just moved a little bit. Maybe it showed up on camera. Wow, that thing is not very stable. That's making me nervous. That is really making me nervous that that wall is not very stable. Because I know I super glued it in place. It's acting like it's not. So Anyhow, like I said, this is how I do. I don't have a lot of Tyco trains. They're nickel plate, but I know Garrett with Kokosing Valley Central, he does. So he could probably do a video on Tycos. As soon as I get this retaining wall painted, show you guys a little sneak peek of the 4x7 that's going to be at the Loudonville show. Thanks, Noel. I really appreciate that. I try to help out people when I can when it comes to shout outs and doing informational videos like the Alco FA and FB that I got. I couldn't find a lot of videos on them review wise and stuff, so that's why I started doing videos initially, was to do reviews of stuff, and I decided, well, why not go ahead and just start doing reviews on how I do things and how I paint my locomotives and weather stuff. So anyhow, that's those painted. Show you a quick, it's a little messy, but here's the 4x7 that Kokosing Valley and I have, Garrett and I have been working on. I just recently installed legs on this, so it folds up nicely. Hey Garrett, there's those bolts I was telling you about. This one's drawn down in decently, so I think just a little ballast might cover that. And that one there. These two are pretty flush, so I think just a little bit of grass will cover them when we redo the grass on there. And let's see. Yeah, the other ones are buried. They're under the fruit box. They're sticking up a little bit, but I think the buildings are going to cover that fairly nicely. So, like I said, here's the end scale. Slow, but eventually it'll look good. I will be covering these holes with something. I think a piece of plywood. It'll get painted black along with the front and the other side to make it look nicer. Got the tunnel port or retaining walls done. There will be a second, possibly a third coat or layer on the hillside here, and the little gorge for the train to run through with the cutout. I think I'm going to leave that cutout as is, just in case there's a derailment or something, for a little easier access to re-rail it. And I still need to paint that tunnel portal and weather it with my blowtorch. Noel, let me grab my little container here. I just buy grass, usually Woodland Scenics. This is a little tub that I got from the big layout. If you've seen that video of Brandon Railway's layout on Kokosing Valley Central's channel, this came with that. I usually buy a tub that's about a foot tall. By Woodland Scenics, it's grass blend, but this is fine turf, green grass, I'm guessing by Woodland Scenics. And the easiest way I do that to get grass down on the layout is I'll just spray an area with hairspray until the area turns white, and of course it'll soak in, so it won't be white for very long. But then I sprinkle the grass down on top of it and take something like this or the back of my phone and push down on it to get it to seed or seat, whatever you want to call it. And then a day later or an hour later, depending on if I got to burr up my butt or whatever, I'll go back over the top of it, starting from 1.5 to 2 foot away, covering the track with tape or plastic, something, and slowly work my way back down with the can of hairspray until I'm real close to it, and that pushes the hairspray down through the grass. And I've had a lot of luck with that, making it look really good. I don't have a lot of grass here to work with, so I'm going to have to get another tub of it. But every bit of this layout will have grass on it, except for where the track is. And then when we go to do ballasting, thank you. When we go to do ballasting, we're just going to put ballasting over the track. I'm not going to worry about, well, actually, I might stop at these brown spots with the grass and then just do ballasting around the brown spots. That's how I tried to, when I, little information here, I didn't think about sharing, but I will. When I did this little hillside, I used balloons and paper mache. I used dirt cheap paper towels. And what I did was I took strips of foam, I cut them in half so they're not as thick, and I used little tacks to nail them down, starting here, going back to the retaining wall, and then curving them as best as I could all the way around. And the same with here, curving them around and trying to stick with the brown area so I can put ballast down and it'll look nice. And so that's how I done the paper mache thing. But yeah, as for the grass, I might just bring it right up to the edge of the brown here and then just ballast everywhere it's brown. I'm not sure about bringing the ballast all the way out to here. That looks like a bit much. I might cut that back in just a little with some paint. Actually, I'm going to do that right now because I do think that'll be a bit much. So what I'm painting here now is just a little line to show where I want my ballast to start and my grass to stop. If anybody has any suggestions, I've heard kitty litter works as a nice ballast, as a fine type of ballast, but I've also heard that it's too coarse, even for N scale. So if anybody has any suggestions as to what they use for ballast on N scale, I would greatly appreciate that. And when I do the ballasting on here and have Garrett help me with that, I will share that with you guys as to how I did that, because I want to be able to share common knowledge with everybody, make things a little easier, because I know sometimes it's pretty frustrating when you can't figure something out. So like I said, this line I'm painting here is just to show where I want the grass to stop and the ballast to start, because there are certain areas on here that I think are a bit too wide for ballasting. Noel, I haven't had a chance to check your channel out yet. I've been fairly busy. I don't know if you've... Hey, Sparky. Okay, I appreciate that. I'll go online this evening and check that out. But Noel, to answer your question, I don't know if you've seen my channel. A while back, I had done up a video stating that my health is not in the best condition right now. And I was forced out of where I was living. Family issues and violence issues and stuff. So I haven't had much time to, between doctor's appointments, going to the hospital, and trying to move stuff and get stuff around for shows, I haven't had much of a chance, but I will try to get to your channel tonight, if not at some point here shortly. thanks again, Sparky. Like I said, I will check out that Woodland Scenics Fine Ballast or whatever the name it is. I'll go back through and double check. I might be able to get some of that from my supplier. Cause all right, have a nice day, Garrett. I should be able to get some of that from Denny, my guy, my train guy down here. So, like I said, the lines I'm painting on here are just for show. Well, not for show, but to show me where I want grass to be. I'm debating on putting a road in. I might put a small road in and do like a little factory type thing back here. I'm not sure. Like I said before, I'm not going to go crazy when it comes to buildings and stuff. So I'm not going to do a whole lot. But any of you guys are interested, this is the fine turf that I use. This came with the big layout I had that Garrett helped me get. So that's what I'll be using on this. Usually I use a Woodland Scenics blended grass, green grass or grass blend look. But I haven't been able to get any of that because my supplier is currently out of it. And I haven't went on eBay. Been too busy, or when I do have time, I don't think about it. Like a garage to put your layout in, or a garage for a house that's on the layout. Because all the buildings I do are kits that are already built, so they'll have a garage on them or they won't. I don't really do much scratch building, but or kit bashing. Well, sometimes I'll do a little bit of kit bashing, changing things, but for the main part, I get kits that are already built, and the way I kit bash them is I just paint them and stuff to look the way I want them to look and everything. So show you guys here how I do this, because I'm not liking the way this is weathered. I want it to be a little more. And that gives it a little more of a weathered look. I'm not quite sure on that one, Noel. Anyhow, like I said, this video is just a little tutorial of what I do now. So anyhow, I've got some other stuff to take care of today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will be back later with another update on once I get some other stuff done. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you all return for when I do another video. No problem, Sparky. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do another stream tonight or if it'll be tomorrow. I know tomorrow Garrett's coming up about 11 o'clock and we're going to be moving the 4x7, that layout over there. We're going to be moving it down to the train show here in Loudonville, getting it set up and helping set up a couple others. Going to be doing a little bit of work on this. So anyhow, for now, this is Brandon Railway 6920 signing off.